Hello, everybody. This is Paul Neeson with Torah Life Ministries. We have a wonderful guest on the show today, Tim Kelley. Tim, say hello to the Torah Life audience.
Hello, Torah Life audience.
Tim, I'm so excited. We had you on previously after I went to the amazing Sukkot gathering you had last year, and it was such a big event and so well organized. Can you tell everybody a little bit about Seasons of Our Joy and the Sukkot event that you have each year?
Well, Season of Our Joy is a observance of the Feast of Tabernacles that we started back in 1999, and we were wanting to do a Feast of Tabernacles celebration that was different than what we've had been accustomed to, and that is to be able to get out and have various speakers speak without being inhibited by doctrinal issues, having to conform to a certain doctrinal stance, I guess you could say. And plus, we wanted to be able to just really worship God in a different way than what I'd been accustomed to. So we started this thing in Ardmore, Oklahoma in 1999, and it's just been growing from there.
It is great. I mean, it was very well organized. I'm excited to come back this year. Now, you made some changes this year on the website with it, and each year you do make improvements to make it better each year, and it seems to be growing each year, so I guess what you're doing is working. Tell us about some of the changes that are happening this year.
Well, the biggest change that we made is really not a change as far as our stance on a number of things. It was simply that we brought it to the forefront. The big change that seems like it's causing some ripples right now is our desire to not have people come and wear blue jeans on the Sabbath and on the first and last days of the festival. So what we did this year is we made it mandatory that people on stage like the singers in the band and musicians and stuff. They could not wear jeans on the stage at any time. Plus, we made it to where people who come on to just attend, that we don't want them to wear jeans on the Sabbaths and on the holy days. That was we had alluded to that for a number of it's been in our basically in our modesty guidelines for a number of years, but it's never been brought out in the forefront. And so we made it in the forefront this year to try to get more adherence to that.
Now, you and I both teach on a topic of modesty, and I think people misunderstood the reason you're doing this. And maybe not there's a modesty aspect to it, but when I spoke to you about this, you told me the whole idea of this wasn't about modesty, it was about something else. So can you explain the idea of not wearing jeans, or as I say from New York, dungarees, to the main sanctuary on Shabbat or the first and last days of the feast?
Well, one of the things we've tried to bring to the forefront is we're trying to separate Season of Our Joy from being a seminar. A lot of people look at it simply being a seminar where you hear various speakers, and so what we have done is we're trying to emphasize the fact that this is an observance of the Feast of Tabernacles. In other words, it's a set apart time. And so during the set apart time, God has his eyes on us almost constantly, you might say, in a figure of speech. He's there, he's looking down, and he's taking notice of us. And also, we're trying to emphasize the fact that it's a wedding. And there's numerous places in the scripture that talks about the festival being a wedding and the wedding of the Messiah and our part in it. But within the Feast of Tabernacles, we have some set apart days. So we have a set apart time that has set apart days within it, and those days are the Sabbath and the first and last day of the festival. And so what we're trying to do is raise the awareness of that up, that these are special set apart times. And one of the things that I have come to see over the years is that, of course, Scripture says in Exodus 20 that we are to make the Sabbath holy, or consider it holy. It actually implies we are to make it holy. And so that means we are to set it apart in our own lives. And so what we have come to see is what one good way of doing that is to take and change or dress differently on the Sabbath than we do rest of the time, rest of the week. And so all week long, I wear jeans. I wear jeans all the time, and I got jeans on right now. But on the Sabbath, I take the jeans off and I put on nicer clothes. And so right before sundown, or maybe an hour before sundown, every Friday evening, Angie and I we change because she's usually got a blue jean dress or something, or blue jean skirt or something on, and she tries to dress up nicer. I try to dress up nicer so that we set the Sabbath apart. And then after we close the Sabbath at Havdalah, the nice clothes come off, we jump back into our jeans. And so we have set the Sabbath apart in numerous ways, but that's one of the big ways that we've learned to do so.
Now, I personally don't wear jeans, but I want to set the record straight here. Seasons of Joy and you, Tim Kelley, and your wife, you don't have an issue with jeans. That's not the point of why you said this. You said this because you want it to be a set apart day, as people wouldn't go to a wedding in blue jeans. They want to come treating the day special.
That's absolutely right, Paul. It's not has nothing to do with modesty or anything like that. It's just that we just believe that people should take and set this Sabbath, set this day apart. And it's an unfortunate thing because most people know that anyway. Most of the people that come to Season of Our Joy have at one time been a part of a Sunday keeping Christian church, and and those you would always dress up a little bit nicer to go to one of those things. I mean, I haven't been in a Sunday keeping church now for probably 35 years, but before, when I was going to there, it was suit and tie on Sunday, and I mean, we've got pictures. My mother has pictures of us all dressed up, getting ready for church. And there's five boys and one girl, and we're all dressed up really nice, just to go to church on Sunday. And then we carried that over into the when we were into the fellowship we were in before we're in now. We just always wore dressed up nice on the Sabbath. It was just always the thing to do.
Well, what reminded me when you told me that was when I worked in a financial district in New York City on Wall Street. Every Friday in the summer, they would have a so-called dress down day, which would be the only day of the week that you can come in without a shirt and tie to do your job. And people looked at it as a comfort thing, but I didn't like it. I still came in my shirt and tie because it changed my whole mindset if I wasn't dressed in my work attire. and
Yeah.
and I think this had something to do with the same kind of idea is you're coming to something different. You're not just going to hang out at a normal seminar. This is even more special, right?
Well, yeah, people, I think they look at dress and they think of modesty and they think, oh, that's someone trying to control them. But most people, if they were looking for a job, for instance, like you said, in a financial district or at a bank or something like that, uh, they would dress up. They wouldn't wear their radio clothes to go interview for a job. They understand that dress makes a difference, and it makes a difference to a potential employer, and it would make a difference to God. I mean, it's an attitude thing. It's your attitude about the person that you're wanting an audience from. And for instance, I'm an employer. I hire people all the time. And when people come in and they have dressed nicely for the job interview, I consider that they look at me as they're taking my time, asking me to provide them for something or give them something, and so they're honoring me by taking and dressing nicer. And I can tell you right now, and I would say just about any employer would say the same thing. You got two equal applicants, uh, both equally able to do the job. The one that comes in there dressed nice is going to get the job over the person who's dressed, in radio clothes and their hair not combed and you know. You can just imagine, and so it's just the way of life and God's instilled that in human beings, and so you could pretty much assume that this is the way He thinks Himself.
What would you say to somebody, and I agree with you, it's an attitude thing, but what would you say to somebody who says, well, during the time of Yeshua, when Yeshua was preaching maybe the Sermon on the Mount or something, the people weren't getting dressed up in special clothes. They were coming in their sandals and their regular everyday clothes. I think personally, if somebody has that reply, their attitude isn't in the right place to begin with. But what would you reply to somebody that says something like that?
Well, Yeshua basically surrounded himself with those people who were, you might call, sinners. In fact, I got an email from a guy who said, well, Jesus was always with sinners around him. So do you think they dressed up? And my answer to that would be, he probably didn't look at it as a big issue at that time because he knew what he was dealing with. He was dealing with people who were not familiar with who he was. They did not realize they were standing before the King of Kings, and so they didn't take that into account. But there, on the other hand, most people only had one dress. It's not like what is today. People back then didn't have choices like we have. When we go to our closet, we have choice to make. and we can choose to wear dress nice, or we can choose to not dress nice. And so I think it's a totally different issue there.
Well, that's what I agree with you on the second part, because even as believers, they only had one set of clothes, and they were happy with their one set of clothes. They didn't
Right.
have a cloth. It's just amazing how people can go to a major sporting event today, and the people playing the sports will put on a certain uniform, and the people in the stands will have copies of those uniforms and everything else to represent the team or something else. But then when you look at the believers to do something like this, they don't want to show that, hey, I'm going to a wedding, a special
Right.
feast, and look different. It's just amazing.
Yeah, the Hebrew roots thing is a major dress down from what it used to be. And, quite personally, I think it's a matter of rebellion. I think so many people come out of the church and they're rebelling against the church and the pastors who led them astray, that they're just simply not wanting to comply with anything. They would comply if, I'll tell you what, if their employer said, "Hey, we're changing our dress code here in the office and no longer we're going to have jeans in the office," they would comply because they wanted their jobs. But to stand before the creator of the universe for 8 days, uh, or just 3 days basically on the Sabbath, people have a little issue with that. So
Yes. And
I think it's sad.
I was at the Sukkot last year. By all means, people listening right now, I mean, they can dress as comfortable as they want and wear their jeans and walk around the camp and do what they got to do in the other days. And there's no modesty police running around or dress police running around. It's such a freeing atmosphere, and it felt so great to be there. And I'm so happy you're holding this as something set apart from all of that, and I
Yeah,
appreciate
it's
it.
yeah, it's just like we said already. We're just talking about doing it on the holy days and on the Sabbath when you're meeting in the main sanctuary there, what we call just the we call it Willow Hall actually. And in many ways, this was started by our worship leader. The concept, at least, that he in some of the modesty teachings, or not modesty, but the oh, what you call it, courtesy and worship. In the courtesy and worship series that he would do, and the articles he would lay in our brochure, it was about coming into the throne room of God. And I tell you what, Aaron didn't have a choice about what he wore into the throne room of God. When he went into the sanctuary on the Day of Atonement, he had to wear certain clothing. And I get people who say that the Scripture doesn't ever indicate that people should wear certain, different clothing here or there, but yes, it does. And just ask Aaron if he'd dare go in there without wearing the priest's garments. I mean, those garments. In fact, it's interesting about the garments. The garments are said that God wanted those to be for glory and beauty. In other words, it's an appealing thing to him to look down upon someone who's dressed a certain way. And so, he goes in there to the Holy of Holies, and God's expecting someone to come in there and be dressed in his very, very best. And so here we talk about going in the Holy of Holies. In fact, we sing the song at the feast every year. Take me into the Holy of Holies, and or the throne room of God. But yet we want to go there and dressed in shorts. So, I think it's ironic.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell us the website if people want to learn more and sign up for the Feast of Tabernacles.
Okay, what website is real simple. It's sooj.org. Sooj.org. And just get on there, and we take you through the process this year. What we're doing this year is we're asking people to qualify to come. And what I mean by that is simply that you agree up front that you're going to be willing to abide by these things. It's not a doctrinal thing. It's not a controlling thing. This is not the only place a person can come keep the Feast of Tabernacles. But just like if you wanted to go to a private Catholic school, if you want to send your kids to a private Catholic school instead of going to public school, at the private Catholic school you wear uniforms. At the public school you can wear jeans. And so we sort of look at it this way. We put a lot of time and effort into making this site an awesome site, and we just simply want people to respect it on the Sabbath by dressing the way we ask.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim. And I want to apologize to everyone watching the video about the video moving around, but we got the message out anyway. Tim, is there anything else you want to say before we end the interview?
Nope, this is it. This is fine. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to uh, let other people know where we're coming from.
Great. Thank you, Tim.
Come out of the world, oh my people, seek the truth, avoid the evil, learn Yahweh's ways, Torah Life Ministries, come out of the world.